Crime Stoppers, can you give a message to Officer Millett, the tall, good-looking blonde man that I haven't seen since many years, who closed the caves of the 7507 Amestoy house of mine back when I had a couple of cars. And possibly a driver's license. Lose my voice commands. Can you tell Officer Millett that I sold the white 500 SEC Mercedes license plate ALWYS space WL, I believe, that had European plates on it at the beginning, the neighbor around the corner forced to be a cop on Saticoy and take my 8-year-old to babysitter, has the European license plate in a California form, and she's a Houston stripper. A couple of houses down on Saticoy on the southwest corner. Hi, you guys. One of you is in the movie The Professional. And some of those parties are not good that was going on in those locations. And you and I are friends, and you're tattooed also, right? It is me, and I'm living over here. So, Crime Stoppers, can you tell those neighbors that the war is almost over? And Officer Millett, can you investigate that Quentin Arrington proved that there is a duplicated VIN number or something with the white 500 SEC Mercedes? It was in 1985, I believe. And both the other victim and I, with our cars switched back and forth. And they're in unison. Please, my voice commands if you talk quick. Both the other victim and I, or are they another victim? And also my dad, who got the car from my grandmother, Cindy Smith, with the same birth date as his new wife, Helen. He is my adopted dad. Okay, now one of the Jim Smiths, Officer Millett and Crime Stoppers, is President Kennedy's Secret Service, the driver of the car when President Kennedy was shot. And one is the treasurer of the Republican Party for 8 years in the 1980s and 90s, James D. Smith, my adopted dad. And one is water agency, and some of them are not the same person. One says he is. It says there is a Jim Smith at 4636 Coven Drive in Bakersfield, California, who had brown eyes. And there's an Air Force Jim Smith with baby blue, kind of Marilyn Monroe eyes, right, Dad? And one on the phone admitted, yes, I'm Marilyn Monroe, several years ago. But when I left a message homeless saying, why didn't you tell me I'm Jacqueline Kennedy, with switched brown eyes, he didn't have an answer. Okay, and since my footprint has a freckle on the bottom of the right foot, and I sent that photo to Carrie from a phone, Carrie Wright, that you paid 562-213-6298, and you wouldn't put it in my name. I actually have 2 freckles. I forgot about that one. Anyways, and it has to do with the feet prints owning Buckingham Palace, England. Of me. Not everyone else surrounding me. So, Officer Millett, since I haven't seen you since that day you knocked at my front door and you said that the Special Forces captain had sent you, I have to admit that the Special Forces sticker on my Mercedes was left in the limousine when I drove Special Forces to San Diego, and I put it on my bumper. So I'm not walking in special forces. And the electrocution at my feet and stomach are making me not feel good right now. So let me push down on that wire. And let me touch my arm with glass and see what happens. Now, Officer Millett, the electrocution signals here are exactly like Amestoy. And sometimes in Santa Monica, but Santa Monica had it under control when I lived at the manor for about, I'm shaking from electrocution at this moment. Who knows what color my eyes are going to be when I walk in. There are hostages in unison at each location. And hostage takers holding darts aimed at my bionic body codes. An astronaut uniform missing from NASA. Duplicated, actually. Okay, so Officer Millett, maybe you and Crime Stoppers can investigate what eye color was I when the space shuttle exploded? Or was I just working there with bugs? Because I remember working with bugs with little, microscopes. And since the electrocution is even worse out here, I better stand like this. Can you investigate those that pose me with electrocution? Well, when they start screaming emergency out my nose for putting a camera to the attic over my bedroom. And suddenly the electrocution signal went down a little. Okay, since everybody's having a party out my nostrils on conversation locations and they don't want to be too, the electrocution right here, like a signal, it may make a dog bark in the distance, but then somebody's in the attic switching your voice, looks like you, runs down below, steals your identity. It's the whole thing, trying to prove that it happens for 10 years, unfortunately. I'm a victim of it. And so it's happening in high proportions, Officer Millett, in this location throughout Los Angeles, of course, for 10 years, and it's extreme. My phone locator says that I'm sitting over here on the attic of this parking garage, which I don't have a car, I don't have it in. And also it says that I'm down in the dirt area, so investigate that as a caving trap nightmare.